Verchiel here from Beads by Verchiel, bringing you this Thursday's tutorial time. So tonight we are going to be doing the necklace that I'm wearing, which is in a form of right angle weave, at least from here to here anyway. So as always, please do remember to give me a thumbs up and pop me a note in the comments so I know you're present. So let me show you another sample that I made. This one is making turquoise howlite beads. So let me zoom in a little bit with gold size 10 seed beads. Now the thing is with this pattern is it's ever so versatile. So this one is using 4mm beads, so is this one. However, the sample piece that we're going to do tonight is with 8mm beads, but that way it shows you the fact that you can really play around with the beads. So here's a point to know: if you're going to make one of these necklaces in 4mm beads, you will need 3 8-inch strands. If you are doing the 8mm, this is 16 inches, and you would need only 2 of these to make a full necklace. And for the little bits in between, so let's just zoom in and then we'll crack on with the demo, is in order to make this sort of burst out at the bottom and give it its lovely elegant shape around the neck, what you do is you pull it in around here after you've finished it and done the weave. You come back. Now I've added size 10 seed beads in these, and I've done one in between one, the next I've done 2 and alternated it. So 1 then 2, 1 then 2. Let's just see. You see that? But not on the bottom. In the one that we're going to work on tonight, which is in the ivory pearls, that's the 8mm size pearls, I have literally just used one size 6 seed bead in between every one. Now this is the only pain in this is you really need to work for the full necklace about 3 meters. Now bearing in mind though you're going to be working with 2 needles, I would say it's better to struggle along with 3 meters than have to add thread in afterwards. So for those of you that are new to bead weaving, welcome to the world of bead weaving. It's very addictive, it's very relaxing. It just takes a bit of time to get used to threading the very fine needles. So I'm working with size 10 beading needles. So I've threaded a needle on either end, and I'm going to zoom in and just make sure I've got all the bits. So you are just going to need your 2 beading needles, 3 meters of thread, the size beads you choose with the combinations I mentioned, how many you need, culottes and crimp beads, and you will obviously need your fastenings for the end. So I am going to add on a crimp bead. Now if you've not come across a crimp bead before, it's basically something you use in general beading to actually attach a clasp. So it's like a clamshell. I'm not sure if that is really getting a very close up. Well anyway, you want to pop both needles inside the clamshell like so, and bring your crimp bead so it sits. I've got a nice little tail there because I've managed to get a knot, so it sits inside. So we're not going to do anything with that for now. Now you can either bring both needles together and thread on the beads. So at this moment in time, let me show you, we are just making this bit here. I've actually threaded 2 ends through 1 needle before. I probably didn't choose the best colour to show up, did I? Using a cream. Hopefully you can see that. Now if I just bring the sample piece, you might want a little bit more, because I tried it on around my neck earlier without the clasp and it was quite a choker necklace. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I've got 15 singles until we start the weave. So that's what we shall do. Obviously less with the 4 mils. If you can't fit them both in at the same time, what you might want to do is just bank one of your needles at the side, do it on one and then thread the other one through. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. I think we said 14, but we're going to go with 14 anyway. Okay, we are now going to separate our beading needles. So you're going to add 1 on each beading needle, and as Janet mentioned last week, you can just do it with 1 single needle if you prefer, so you'd be just going round with the 1 needle. Add a 3rd bead on and cross your needles over, so you pop that one in the opposite direction and pull. So that's the start of our right angle weave. So you add 1 either side. This is the other way that you could do it, which I think Kay mentioned last week, is you can keep it on your needle, thread the other side, and this stops you actually cutting through the thread, because sometimes I actually separate my threads by accident. So can you see how that's starting to appear? 1 either side, 1 in the middle. So there's the only difference, well, there's a few differences to the other weaves that we've done, only in that we have plain from the outset and then we go into the right angle weave. And whereas we edged both sides before, we're only going to edge one side, and that way it actually allows us to actually create that curve in the necklace. Now I'm going to do a shortened version so that I can actually show you. So if you imagine you've done all of your necklace like here, so I've got groups of 3. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 groups of 3, but making sure you end on a 2, and then you do the same the other side. So I'm just going to show you how we start building in the other side. So obviously this is very much a miniature version. So you'd finish on a 2, and then you would add both needles through one single one, like so. So that's our miniature necklace. What I'd also recommend you do as well is probably tie both ends together, like tying a shoelace. The other thing you might want to do as well is to do a bit of reinforcing before you get to that. And reinforcing is literally going back round the thread path that you've just created so that you strengthen it. If we just pretend that I've actually done the full length needed. You'd then add the culotte, but this time you'd go up from the bottom up with both needles, and then you would pop both needles through a crimp bead like so. Now what I'd recommend you do at this stage is actually squeeze your crimp bead when you've finished. So, well, when you finish the one end, we've got to go back down it. So you're using your chain nose pliers. So you would crimp that and then you'd go back down through the hole. So you go back down the centre of the crimp, not the crimp, sorry, the culotte that you've just added. So bring all of your needles, either one by one or together, down the side of the necklace till you hit the start of your right angle weave. Now you'll need to make a decision as to which bit you want to make the top. Now what I would do is separate your needles, bank one of them, and then you're going to go up through what I'm going to call the top edge. So just to bring the other one back round, so that's where we're at. So we've gone all the way along, we've gone all the way back, and now we're going to add in these bits here. So I have got the size 6 seed beads. You only need to obviously add these at the right angle weave, not on the single part. And then you add one and go through the top. Now as you can see, my tension on this needs tightening, which I would have spent more time doing. So add one, go through one, add one, go through one. So then you would actually push your needle back through the other end. Now you could say, well, what about the other needle? Personally, I would actually use that to go round some of the beads to reinforce it. So just use the thread path just to tighten it up a little bit, like so. Now, where am I at with this one? So you would thread your needle until you came back out at the original culotte. So at this point, I'm going to actually switch to my other one. So this is where you've added your seed beads along the top. You've got your straight edge there. And as you can see, my culotte has come off because I think I've got something faulty there. So this is the actual one itself. So we've still got the culotte open. And what I've done is I've left this one open so that I can just show you the last little bit of sort of reinforcing with that second. So I am just going around these thread paths. I'm not going through the seed beads. And then I would go up through all of those. Now, if you find that your beads are too small to take another go through them, then what you could always do is just tie off one of the threads. And I'll just show you how you would do that. So to tie off, you just push your needle through the base of the thread and pull, and you do that in 2 to 3 different places. So I'm going to show you how we finish off. So we're just coming to meet the other needle. It's coming through the centre of the culotte and up through the culotte. Now I'm going to zoom in so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm hoping that I can squeeze it this time. So I'm getting in there and I'm squeezing that culotte, so that gives it some extra security. I'm taking my needles off. I'm going to tie these in a triple knot. Okay, and then I'm going to add a dab of nail varnish. You only need to do this the one end, the other end should be fine and secured with your crimp bead. So you're going to pop a dab of nail varnish, leave that to set, and I'll just show you how you add the clasps. So if you are new to jewellery making, you've got open jump rings and a lobster claw clasp. Now I am going to close that culotte up. It's called an end tip or a culotte, and it's got a pre-formed hole, the one end as well. That's still a bit distorted, so hopefully you can see that. I'm going to attach the clasp to it. So I've got some flat nose and some chain nose pliers. You have the slit up at the 12 o'clock, and then you move either away or towards you and open in a rocking action. Pop that on to the end of your culotte, then pop your clasp on and return it to that original position. Now I'm using quite thick jump rings in this, just to be sure that it doesn't fall through the thickness of the end of the culotte, if that makes sense. So this one, you would just literally trim that. You would close that up. And a top tip is, if it's not long enough or you want to adjust the lengths, is add some loose chain as an extender. So there we have our finished necklace. Let's just zoom out a little bit. So there you have a very sort of quite bridally, isn't it? So there we go. I'll show you a bit close up in a second, but let's just talk you through this one. So for the 4mm, you've got 19. If you class 19 single ones either end, and if you count this one as part of a 3, you've got 35 groups of 3. All right, so that's the combination for the 4mm. That one is the ivory. I mean, it's lovely, so you can go quite gentle and petite with the style that you have, or you could go bold. I mean, I dare say you could even try sort of bigger beads. You could try maybe 10mm beads if you want a real statement piece. Don't forget, every Thursday tutorial time, 6 o'clock. Please do spread the word with friends and family that you think might enjoy. Thank you so much. Do let me know if there's any questions you've got on this. Take care all. Bye.